The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is live once again with Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, NFL.com. Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB, and a lot of things we want to get to here today, so we're going to move quickly. So keep up, people. Travis Kelce is back, if you didn't hear. What does that mean for the Chiefs? The franchise tag's been placed on Trey Smith. Very expensive interior offensive line. Is it a good idea to spend this much money there for the Kansas City Chiefs? Andy Reid said the team's looking at all options when it comes to left tackle. What does that really mean? Does this mean Nick Bolton's done? Hollywood Brown, Brett Veach says they want to keep him. Will they? Veach said free agencies, the drafts, really their free agency will have to come from the draft. And a C- grade from the NFLPA. The Chiefs actually got a little bit better. We'll talk about that here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
There we go. Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on kind of a big episode, fellas. We got big news yesterday. Travis Kelce is going to be back with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think there are implications there. We'll talk about what that means. Let's start with that. He is one of the most popular players in franchise history. He's one of the best players in franchise history. He is one of the most expensive players on the 2025 cap. $19 million he counts. All those things are true, Jeff, and he's coming back. What does it mean to you?
Well, the last one to me is the biggest one. Because his cap space doesn't correlate to his production anymore. And so, yeah, it's great to have him back. It's great. I've been a big Travis Kelce fan throughout his career, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the best tight ends ever. But this was the tricky one for the offseason. And one, as I said, you look at his numbers at the end of the season, the AFC Championship game, the Super Bowl, he did not put up the numbers even close to what we expect from him. But two, the space part of it. And we're going to get into Trey Smith, but they don't have a ton of money to spend. And if you're going to devote that kind of money to a player who's aging, and I know his numbers are still pretty good, but when you're talking about what you need to get from somebody who has that kind of cap space, taking up that kind of cap space, I don't know if it's the best thing for the Chiefs next season.
All right, Sam, what's your reaction to the news that he's going to be back?
Yeah, I don't really disagree with anything Jeff said. I mean, certainly the production doesn't match a $20 million cap hit. There are ways they can finesse that cap hit, but I think Travis Kelce's value, outweighs just the production you get on the field from him. I mean, he absolutely, Clark Hunt told me during the Super Bowl, he thinks Travis Kelce sets their team's culture as much as Andy Reid does. Like, that's how valuable they view him inside the locker room. I certainly on this podcast have talked about his practice habits, and that stuff matters, especially when you have young, they've gone in the draft. They've drafted the last 3 years, a first or second round wide receiver. Like, that stuff makes an impression. I think as far as what to expect from him on the field, I looked at like Tony Gonzalez as really the best producing wide receiver or tight end at age 36 or older. He had 93 for 930 at 36. And then at 37, he has 83 for 860. I think that's reasonable for Travis Kelce. And the main reason is, and it's Soren, I think I mentioned this on your show on Tuesday, but the biggest dip we've seen from Travis Kelce is his ability to make plays after the catch has really changed. Last year was at a career low 3.5 yards after the catch per reception. Those numbers I mentioned with Tony Gonzalez, he put up those numbers with 2.5 yards after the catch per reception. So Tony Gonzalez had a larger catch radius than Travis Kelce. They have put up similar numbers, but they are by no means identical ways of going about it. But my point is, I think a lot of this with discussion with Travis Kelce becomes a boom or bust player. I still think he can be a pretty productive player, even if he's nowhere near what he once was. And even if it's not worth $20 million, it's still worth quite a bit to the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think the one thing, I like this statement. Here, Ben says, I love Sam, but culture is overrated. Culture is great anytime there's winning. It won't be the same story.
I strongly disagree with that. Disagree with that.
I'm curious because I do agree. I think probably somewhere in between the two of you is reality, but I would lean more towards Ben. I think culture is created by winning. Yeah. Like you can get excited, but Travis Kelce getting penalties and everything when this team was pretty good was a clown. Right now he's cut out the penalties, but a lot of the antics and everything, that all came with people being frustrated. I mean, there were times that people were really frustrated with Travis Kelce early in his career. And he was still a very productive player, right? He hadn't gone to the 1,400-yard level that he was at, but he was a very good tight end. And as a third-round pick, there was no reason for people to be frustrated with his play. But some of the stuff that is now considered leadership was considered, he was a clown. Jeff,
no, it's a difference in personality, right? Like, people can grow. And there's no doubt that Travis Kelce has grown since he was early on with the Chiefs. This isn't like the same old antics that are now accepted. Like, this is a growth in an individual.
He definitely grew. Absolutely. I'm not trying to say he's not doing this, to the official and different things that are drawing flags. No, he's definitely matured as a person. But I would offer, do you not think that the same person in a losing environment is viewed differently than they are in a winning environment? There's degrees, but would you agree with that, Sam?
Not wholly, no.
Okay.
I think I would say partially, but I don't.
Okay, so degrees, yes.
I don't think it's a 180.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Jeff. What's your thoughts on the culture part of the equation?
I agree with Ben. I think culture is overrated. We're always comparing this team to the Patriots, and are they going to win as many championships and have the same kind of success? Travis Kelce would have been traded by now. Chris Jones would have been traded by now, and they would have gone on, and they would have still had a winning culture because other guys would have come in. And Patrick Mahomes is your culture setter. And I get Travis has been a big part of this, but he's the key piece. And so all these other guys around him, including Travis, are dispensable. And Sam mentioned that Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez put up those numbers when he was playing on an offense that had Julio Jones, Roddy White, Michael Turner. He was probably the fourth option, the fourth best offensive player. And again, I love Travis, and I'm happy to have him on this team in a diminished role and diminished contract. But let's face it, he is still going to be the guy Patrick Mahomes looks for first and foremost. and I've covered a team, the Niners, early in my career when Jerry Rice was declining. And it was very awkward and very difficult to deal with that because he felt like I still need my touches. I still need to be a big part of this offense. Terrell Owens was becoming a bigger player. And that Travis isn't that level of ego, but he's still on the team, and he's still going to he's not going to be happy with 45 catches for 500 yards. I guarantee you that.
The Chiefs, without a doubt, cannot make Travis Kelce their number one option. I think that's clear to all of us, is that he's going to have to play in a different role. And part of that is on the Chiefs offense to put him in a different role. I would push back on the fact that Patrick Mahomes sets the culture for the Chiefs. I think he's a major part of it. But I think that Travis Kelce is every bit as important to the Chiefs culture as Patrick Mahomes.
Wow, I couldn't disagree more.
I'm in the locker room every day.
Not every bit as important. You want to say he's a big part of it? Yeah. Fine. I got no rub there at all. I think he is a big part of it. The quarterback, the winning is more important than anything as far as establishing a culture. The quarterback means more to the winning than anything. The fact that everyone knows he's the best player and he works harder. Listen, I'll bring up the other element that I think is there. Travis Kelce was not in great shape this year. And the one thing he did say is he's going to come back. He's going to work hard to be in the best shape of his life, which
is better shape this year than last year.
To me, I disagree. I thought it really stood out this year.
And came in 10 pounds lighter at training camp than he did the year before.
Well, then he didn't lift a weight. I mean, muscle weighs more than fat, I've always been told. Look, I will tell you that is a big one. And I think that Patrick Mahomes, but despite the dad bod thing, like, I don't think he has your traditional, like, Flex Wheeler. You got to go old school bodybuilding to know who the hell that is, but maybe the most symmetrical, greatest, body of all time. He doesn't have that kind of look that, like, a lot of linebackers and running backs have, but he works his ass off. And I think when your best player works the hardest, that's what sets the culture. I don't think anyone even comes close to creating the culture from Patrick Mahomes. And I think Clark Hunt does a great job of being an owner, of giving most of the resources you would want. I think he could put more cash up front in free agency. That would be my one rub with Clark Hunt and the Hunt family on how they run things. But I don't really put a lot of stock in Clark Hunt's theory on the culture in the locker room. I mean, I think that's Andy Reid telling Clark some nice stuff. Travis maybe justifying the amount of money they're giving to Travis Kelce, but it's Patrick Mahomes. It's a lot of money. It's more money than he's worth. I think it is very fair and easy to say he has earned making more than he's worth, and that there is a beyond football value to him that says, okay, he's worth the $20 million because of everything he brings to intangibles in the locker room. I definitely think winning and being good is first and foremost. I watched Terry Pendleton was brought into the Royals at the end of his career, a former MVP, culture setter, all this. No, did nothing. You have to be able to ball to lead. If you can't ball, there'll be some young guy who can ball that'll tell you to sit down, old man. It is a high school mentality in that locker room. It always is. And if you can't ball, you can't lead. I mean, at least very limited in how much you could lead.
Yeah, I just think these blanket statements, like, I just think this is individual basis more than we're giving it credit for here. Like, when I'm not talking about, like, giving rah speeches in the locker room or something of that sort, and people are like, well, has this guy been productive this year? The Eagles took Veterans Days off before the Super Bowl. They did it the last time they played the Chiefs too. I mean, Travis Kelce is out there practicing, and if he's out there practicing, no one else is getting a day off when the 36-year-old out there is going. I'm just saying this stuff matters. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs go, from 15-2 to 2-15 if they don't have this, but I'm just saying this stuff has an effect on younger players.
Here's what I'll say, and I'll go outside the Chiefs to make a point about this. The Buffalo Bills at the AFC Championship game, and these guys aren't Hall of Fame guys, but they were pretty good players. They got rid of Micah Boyer and Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. They got rid of Stephon Diggs, some other guys, and the belief was that without some of this leadership, they were going to really struggle. They found a way to win a lot of games. They found a way to get other guys in positions to play, and they still got back to the AFC Championship game. My point here is that, and again, I keep saying this, love Travis, but if you're able to get a couple younger players in different spots on a team that needs some help on their roster and lose him, and those guys end up becoming better players for you over the next 3 or 4 years, I think that's a better outcome for the Chiefs than saying, let's have one more year of Travis to see what he can do.
Yeah,
I think that's a great point.
Different question, but
I think same question. Because by keeping him, you're keeping $17.5 million. You can't go out and spend elsewhere. I mean, I think that is absolutely part of the equation.
Okay, I just since I made the last point, I want to say that's a different point than what I was talking about, because I agree with what Jeff just said.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, I want you to say. I do want to say what Sam is saying is true. Travis is a big part of this team's success, and how these younger guys have matured. I think he is. I don't want to minimize that part of it.
I agree.
And you're not, Jeff. But let's ask this, Soren. Like, what's because none of us predicted that Travis Kelce would get 1,000 yards last year. Like, we were realistic about what to expect from Travis Kelce. What's the We're in February, right? And it's a long time before they play a game. But 36-year-old tight end, he'll be 36 in October. What's the realistic expectation for Travis Kelce?
Well, I think there's two things. There's one, what the expectation is based upon what you're giving him. And then there's what the expectation is for a normal 36-year-old. I mean, there's really three. And then there's what the expectation is for Travis, for a guy who's been as unique as Travis Kelce. Like Peyton Manning, when he went to the Broncos, I did this thing like no one had ever thrown this many touchdowns at that age, blah, blah, blah. But nobody had ever done the things he had done to get to that age. And so he exceeded all the old guy numbers that there had ever been. So I expect Kelce to exceed most everybody, but save a Tony Gonzalez, perhaps, who probably aged better than anybody at the tight end position. So realistically, to want or expect, I mean, I expect him to get hurt.
A prediction for him.
My prediction is that he will miss games and that it will come in. It will be the lowest totals of his career. So 70. I think we predicted this on the air the other day, and I think I said something to the effect of like 75 for like maybe just right around 800, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I would go under for the yards and catches.
Yeah.
I think the touchdowns. I always think is look. It's great to predict touchdowns, and we do it all the time for good reason. Those can be kind of one-off plays. I think so. But yardage and catches wise, I think it's more like 60 for like 600.
He had 97 this year, so you're expecting what, injury or that kind of decline?
Yeah, I don't think you can. Go ahead.
Well, if you're expecting that kind of decline, why would you greenlight the $19 million?
I said that they're paying him too much. Yeah, I said that. There's nowhere in my statement that I said that
I just want to make
sure.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
because I think that's part of the line where I'm. I think this is a questionable move. Like, it's a popular move, but from a pure, take his past history and just this player doing this at this age with this accomplishments, I think you would seriously question it. You would never sign this guy if he's on the open market. What does he get?
Well, but he's already signed. Like,
I know, I understand, but you can cut him. That's the point. There is the option of cutting him.
Okay.
There's the option of going to him and saying, great, you're coming back, but we need to redo this deal. And not just where we give you all the money you're getting and we just give you some a little bit later, where we don't give you all this money. Those are real options.
Would you cut Travis Kelce?
Would I cut Travis Kelce? I would be a lot colder than teams usually are. I would not, particularly with the success. Would I cut Travis Kelce? No, I would ask him to come back on a lesser deal.
Yeah. And what for? Like, show me the framework of how that would work.
Travis, that's great. We want you here. We see a lot of things with you in the organization in the future. We see a relationship, the ability for you to have revenue coming from our team in the future. But right now, we're trying to win championships, and we've got to maximize our window. Every year with Patrick Mahomes is precious. This is what we think you're worth. We're willing to go this much over it. Are you willing to play for that?
Yeah, I think you could go down a really bad road, and if if you get into a spot where you're cutting the most popular guy in the room.
Right. Bill Belichick cut Lawyer Malloy.
He traded
what a championship, and he was the most popular guy in the locker room.
And I know.
Let's not compare Lawyer Malloy.
I was just going to say, Sam. I know you didn't cover football at that time. It was a giant deal.
It was huge.
I cannot stress.
I know it was.
He was the heart and soul of that team. He was the spokesperson for that team. It was a really big deal.
Is Lawyer Malloy a Hall of Famer? Because Travis Kelce is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, I mean, your whole point is not Hall of Fame. Your whole point is what productivity.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's the combination of the two.
Well, but his Hall of Fame jacket is not being ripped off him. Okay, we're talking about what it's going to do to the team. So the Hall of Fame part doesn't.
I'm just not articulating my point very well, but I don't think I think it does a lot of damage to your room if you cut.
You're articulating it well, and I don't disagree with you. I think it would be a tough pill to swallow
for the room, not for the Chiefs. Is my point. I don't think that. I think that has a reverberation. I think in your room if you cut Travis Kelce.
Part of it is that if you can't play, you're not going to be here.
Part of it is, and let's face it, Rashee Rice is going to be suspended next year. But if you believe in the development and the potential of Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce also gets in the way of that. And at some point, we just talked about diminished role. He is going to have to be in a position where he is the third best option that Mahomes trusts on this offense. And so if he's around, again, I don't think he's going to be that. I think he's going to be considered the first or second best. And that limits for this offense to get better. Those other guys have to get better.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, look, I think we're all on the same page. If we would all agree, if you're going to overspend on somebody, the guy to overspend on is Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we would all agree with that. It's the degrees. How far do you go?
And we all agree it is an overspend. We all agree it is an overspend, but it's, I look at it as what are your options? And look, Soren, your question as far as like if he's on the open market, there's no way you're paying him $20 million. If this was a free agency, like there's no way you could do that. But then that becomes much more the player responsibility. We offered you a contract, you turned it down. We offered you market value more than other teams are going to offer you. I just think you get in a really icky situation. And look, the NFL is made of these like icky situations to where you have to make these. This player's unique. He's unique to your room. He's been here longer than anybody. And I just think if I were the Chiefs, I would really worry about the reverberations of, departing with him, cutting with him, and then it's fully your responsibility. That doesn't mean you don't do what you said, Soren, where you say, hey, can we work out a new deal? Like the Chiefs still could do that.
Sure.
But if he said, I would keep those conversations 100% private if you could. And if he says no, I think you're just stuck with the number.
I think we've seen four teams in the last 6 years trade franchise quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Carson Wentz. I think you can trade a Hall of Fame tight end and you'll be just fine.
Yeah. We'll take a break here. I'll let you hear from our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, they just feed us the big news all at once. We couldn't have had Travis Kelce to chew on for a week and then come around with the franchise tag. No, fast and furious. I guess it should have been franchise tag and then Kelce sit and wait a week so that, we can fully digest it. Instead, we get a double barrel all at once. The franchise tag on Trey Smith. Is this the right thing to do, Jeff?
Man, he went 0 for 2. I think we all thought Travis might retire, and we all thought there was no way that Trey Smith was going to get a franchise tag. If this is a franchise tag and Trey situation, which it doesn't seem to be that, it'd be one thing. But again, this blows my mind that you're talking about paying more money to an offensive lineman who's not even the best at his position. Let's start with that. You have guys you've drafted who should be able to play that spot, including your second-round pick who couldn't play left tackle for you. I just can't imagine having the money you're paying Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, Jawan Taylor, and then making this guy one of the highest paid guard, if not the highest paid guard in the NFL, on a team that has other holes to fill. It just blows my mind, including the most important at left tackle. I don't understand it.
Real quick, Sam, can you do this?
What for?
Because Sam and I squared off on this one on Tuesday. It went round.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, so I had somebody texted me, ding, ding. Like that we're ringing.
Oh, Sam didn't agree with that? Sam?
Well, no, it's just like our last conversation. We're 80-90% on the same page and fighting about the last 10 or 15% that we're disagreeing on. Sam, just your reaction to Jeff. I don't want to pollute what.
Yeah,
you've heard my crap.
Yeah, before free agency started, before I went to the combine this week, I mentioned that I didn't think Trey Smith really should fit in their plans if he was going to cost what the projected cost is for him, which you're already going to pay him that for 1 year. I thought the Chiefs' thinking changed. I know the Chiefs' thinking changed when the salary cap came in $9 to $10 million higher than what they anticipated was going to come in. All their offseason blueprints had the salary cap between $269 to $270 million. It's now going to be 279.2. And Brett Veach said that puts Trey back in play. And so I know this is going to have the perception of a quick fix to a Super Bowl disaster. I actually view this as more of a long-term move. Joe Thuney is going to be off the books in a year. Jawan Taylor is probably going to be cut after the end of 2025. in which case Creed Humphrey is going to be the only offensive lineman on your roster. Now you potentially have two. It's obviously a sign that they think they can sign Trey Smith, that their conversations at the Combine told them that they could sign Trey Smith. I also think it's an indication of how they view free agency. But this is running it back in a sense. And the offensive line was a topic of discussion frequently on this podcast for a reason. I mean, the Chiefs had to change their offense and adapt how quickly they threw the ball because their offensive line wasn't holding up enough. And the reason it wasn't holding enough, that problem still exists. I do think the Chiefs, and I know we'll talk about that in a second, I think they look at it and say, we don't know exactly how we're going to solve that problem, so we better not create another one. I'm just telling you where I think that the Chiefs are on this.
This to me is Andy Reid pushing hard. Let me. This is a little bit of where Sam and I got to argue with each other the other day. Let me ask you this, Jeff, because if people listen to my radio show, they've heard this part. But from me and Sam, this is a definitive statement. Like if we've been hearing about Kingsley Suamataia at guard, we think he can play guard. We think he can play guard. If he could really ball at guard, are you making this move?
No.
Wanya Morris is a potential at guard. If he could really ball at guard, if both those guys could, are you making this move? Hunter Norzad, I thought graded out pretty good in the one game that he played. I thought, okay, well, there's an option. But if they believed in him, are you making this move? Like they have made 4 draft picks. Granted, Norzad and Holy Cross guy, CJ Hansen, isn't that his name? The 7th round pick.
Yeah.
They were 5th and 7th. But previous to that, they invested before that, earlier in the same draft, they invested a 2nd, and the year before they invested a 3rd. And none of those 4 players can play guard. Like if any of those players could play guard, would you be, after you just gave Creed Humphrey all this money, would you be putting this much money into it? I mean, this is, let's set this as a separate one. Isn't this a statement that they did not get it right with those 4 players?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Like, I don't understand why you don't have an option for that spot. And I'll say this to make it clear. Like, just as with Travis, I'd love to have Trey Smith on this team at that spot at a cheaper cost. But if you're talking about having to pay $23 million a year to have him there, I don't think that's a wise investment. And I do agree. I do think this smells like Andy Reid saying, I want to have certain guys in place and I want to be able to run my offense. It smells like you're deluding yourself into thinking the Super Bowl didn't happen, where that all these guys got destroyed, including Trey Smith. And so you're talking about an offensive draft when it comes to offensive linemen. Yeah, left tackle is not a great spot, but a lot of guys are talked about as tackles who could play guard for you or guards who could be found there. You can go find somebody just as you found Trey Smith 4 years ago, plug him in if you don't like the guys you got. I just don't think, regardless of what you want to do with Tooney or Taylor, saying let's stick with this group and we'll figure out left tackle makes this offense better next year.
You say they can find guys. They can't. I mean, they can't find a guard. They should. Yes.
They should
pay a premium to get the guy.
They should be able to find guards. And look, this is a good class for interior linemen. And to me, that would have weighed into my decision too, is that's one of the strongest position groups in this draft class, is that there's a lot of interior linemen. But look, I mean, my point was Soren on Tuesday was, and not to rehash the whole thing certainly, but I just thought that just because those guys should theoretically be good players because of where you drafted them doesn't mean they are good players based on where you drafted them. And your assessment should just be where they are and not where they should be. But it's absolutely commentary on where those guys are, because, I mean, I had heard that the Chiefs, so I've never seen Kingsley Suamataia play a snap at guard in my life. The Chiefs' reviews on him were that he was looking pretty good in practice, that Andy Heck had liked what he had seen at practice. You absolutely should take this as commentary, that this is actually what they think of Kingsley Suamataia's ability to play guard this next year.
Yeah, this is the reality, because they can go tell their buddy on ESPN,
Louis
Riddick,
yeah,
whatever they want. But like, at the bottom line is, if they're not going to put him on the field, Mike Caliendo is playing, and nothing against Mike Caliendo, who had his problems obviously in the AFC Championship game where he got bulldozed into the quarterback, and he had his problems in the Super Bowl. But like, there is always a guy like that to put in there and play. I mean, poorly, but like, you can get by. And so that's why, like, I don't understand. The one thing I will defend is that I think like they did after the Bucs Super Bowl. They tried really hard to get Trent Williams to play left tackle, and they finally said it's just too much. And I think if they had it to do over again, they would have kept bidding. I'll be honest with you. I think they would have kept bidding if they'd have known what was going to happen left tackle wise, and that they were going to hit on Trey Smith and those kind of things. I think they would have kept bidding and stayed in the fight and said, no, it's worth it to have him and solve that left tackle spot. And they might have another Super Bowl or 2 more Super Bowls. Who knows? But I think it is an acknowledgement that they are looking around at left tackle going, we do not have a good answer, so we have to be good at the other 4. I mean, I do think I am like team spend the money at left tackle, not here at guard. But I think this is a definitive statement that they don't like what's in free agency. They either don't think Stanley's going to get out there, they don't think he can stay healthy. They don't like the short arms of the Rams tackle.
Jackson,
They don't like the free agents. They're not enamored with the draft class. They feel like they'll just be throwing another Wanya Morris at it by the time they get to picking. And so they're saying, we're going to have a problem at left tackle. We acknowledge it, but let's be strong everywhere else. And we also had the point, I think, and we'll walk on Joe Thuney next year, and then we'll walk on Jawan Taylor, which means now you got to find those spots too. And as we've mentioned, you haven't really been hitting on them. But I think this is a flag in the ground. There's no answer at left tackle.
Well, and you also have to address the elephant in the room, which is you can also change the way you play football. If you're going to put guys out there who can't block well, change the way you call plays and call plays where you allow your quarterback to be protected. That's what happened in the Super Bowl, and that's what they did. They did that well.
Yeah, they did change their offense. Yeah,
but they don't want to play that way. They always want to get back to that style that they played against Philadelphia, and it cost them. And so now you have a chance to look at it and say, if we're going to play this way, let's try to find a way to protect Patrick better. And I guarantee you they're still going to try to think we can go out there and be a 5,000-yard passing offense, 50 touchdowns, and he's going to be running all over the place making crazy plays. And that's just delusional.
You didn't have to mention the numbers that Soren predicted, Jeff.
Stop, because we're going to take notice. Joel, that's right. No left tackle offense, real innovation. And then here's the one I actually meant to hit. Yes, Jeff, keep a damn tight end in to help. And then there it is. Yep. Jeff is on it. If one time we could get, somebody to disagree with Jeff, I would be thrilled in that chat room. Yeah. There they are, pouring in, agreeing with Jeff on this.
There we go.
Let's look. I think the deal, somebody asked the question, I think it's a relevant one, Sam. Like, why? I don't understand why you'd franchise him if you're not trying to trade him. Well, you franchise him to make sure that he can't get away. But I do agree, this is not a team that wants to be running with his $23 million number, right? This is a precursor to signing a deal that brings that number down, which I don't love backloading, but they're in that spot. That's what they do. It's a cycle they can't get out of right now. But, like, I agree with them that they need to try to get a deal done and get it done quickly. If this is one that they're going to dance all the way to the deadline, they've got to make all kinds of sweeping adjustments to their cap just to fit this number in. It would be a lot better if they could announce an extension before the 12th and they don't have to make all the moves that it's going to take to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, well, you said it. Look, the deadline to, have a long-term deal with the franchise candidate is going to be like in mid-July, but the artificial deadline really is that March 10th deadline, to where you need to be able to make, like, this is going to hamstring you. They were hamstrung last year when they tagged L'Jarius Sneed, and they ended up getting a 3rd-round pick out of it, and that ends up being a premium 3rd-round pick. But they were hamstrung in free agency because they had that number on their books, and all their, signing bonus and, other deviations of their salary cap only help get L'Jarius Sneed's number. And you're not even planning on keeping L'Jarius Sneed. They are planning on keeping on Trey Smith. Like, their goal is to work out in a long-term deal with them. And I said this earlier, they talk with Trey Smith's agents at the combine or during this week at the combine. And I do think it's possibly an indication of where they think they are with Trey Smith. So, but you've got a lot more holes to fill this year than you did a year ago. And you need to have the salary cap flexibility. It is a commentary, though, on what they think of the free agency class as well. This is not a strong free agency class across the board. And I will give them credit on this for one piece of it, which is you shouldn't just go spend money for the sake of spending money on a position you need. It should still be smart dollars. And if there's not guys out there who you think are worthy of having big contracts, then don't sign them just because you need that position.
Well, and I'll say this too, which is it's always dangerous to be in the business in this league of spending big money on non-premium positions. And when you're
Absolutely.
playing guards and centers, guess what? You got a cornerback who's going to be up for an extension pretty soon here, and he's probably going to cost you about $25 million a year or more. You got a receiver in Rashee Rice if you want to keep him, depending on how he plays. After the suspension, we'll see how it plays out. But he's probably going to be talking about $30 million a year to hold on to when Travis is gone. You're going to start getting into these places. And again, going back to the Patriots, one thing about their success that was underrated, they never got in the business of paying big money to premium positions. That's how they were able to manage their cap. You start paying these guys in the middle of the field who shouldn't be making this kind of money, that kind of money, it's going to hurt you when you want to start building out your skill players.
100%.
It was on this very podcast that Eric Eager said Chris Ballard wins the award for being the best at drafting the positions that matter the least. And that's the problem with the Colts. He gets guard, he nails it at guard and linebacker, and not the positions that really matter. And there's an element of that. It's great to have a great guard, but it's not the most important position. I will tell you, if you've been in an accident, it's important to have the right attorney. Northland Injury Law has got you covered. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Besame Wellness for all your cannabis needs. With fast, easy, and discreet delivery, you can enjoy the same deals you enjoy in-store but delivered to your home or office. Even same day. Restrictions may apply. Any questions? Let Besame's top-rated customer service team assist you. And this Chief season, don't miss a minute of the game with no delivery fees on game days. And when the home team wins, so do you. Use promo code 3PEAT and receive some extra free goodies with your next Besame order. Don't forget, you can still use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order for online delivery or at any of their 5 area Besame locations.
All right, let's talk about left tackle. Where do they go, Jeff, at left tackle now with the cost that's going to be hanging around their neck with Travis Kelce's number that's not coming off the books, and with Trey Smith?
Well, I didn't go to the combine this year. Sam was down there, but you get a lot of people talking about scenarios, and I imagine a lot of this Trey Smith stuff is coming out of what Reid was hearing about the left tackle market. I'd be surprised if Ronnie Stanley gets out of Baltimore. They seem to obviously need a left tackle. They're aware of what the market looks like. I think Cam Robinson is not a very good player. I don't think you want to add another Jacksonville Jaguars ex-offensive lineman to the mix. And they can't afford those guys right now with what they're dealing with Trey Smith and Travis Kelce. My best guess is that DJ Humphries is going to be the answer. And look, they brought him in here late. They seem to be high on him. We'll see where he's at injury-wise, but he's been around long enough to know his personality and how he fits in. Who knows what he's going to want financially, but coming off an injury, not playing a whole lot, not playing well when he played, he may be your best option.
Yeah. Sam, where do you think they turn?
I think they throw numbers at the position, which is going to sound a hell of a lot similar to the way 2024 was. I do think they bring DJ Humphries back. I think they could draft somebody in like a Wanye Morris type in like a 2nd or 3rd round, maybe 4th round, and hope that he works out better than the other guys they've drafted, and they kick this can down the road another year. And I say that because, look, they had 7 first-round grades on offensive tackles last year. They were all gone by like 24, 25. They don't have nearly 7 first-round grades on offensive tackles this year. They're not getting an offensive tackle in this draft. And Brett Veach actually said his
not in the first round, you mean?
In the first round, right? Yeah, they're not getting a starting offensive tackle.
Not getting a plug-and-play starting left tackle.
Exactly. Yeah. Brett Veach actually said his nightmare scenario is that it gets to pick 31. And here they have a first-round grade on a defensive lineman because it's a really deep defensive line class. And guess what? They also need defensive linemen. They've got a first-round grade on a defensive lineman and maybe another position. And then, there's their top tackle on the board is a 3rd-round pick. and you don't want to be stuck reaching to take the tackle because that's the position you need. And to me, that's an indication that they will try and band-aid this situation in some way, somehow during free agency. I still think they could potentially get one of the other free agents. I agree with Jeff on Stanley and Cam Robinson. Like, those guys are going to be making a lot of money. There's red flags, I think, on both those guys for either performance, and Stanley, it's an injury history situation. But I could see them maybe getting a second-tier guy that when Juwan Taylor's gone after this year, maybe this guy, you see if he can play left tackle this year, and then you slide him over to right tackle, in his second year with the team. I could see that sort of situation, but I don't see them solving left tackle for the long term this offseason, because I have no idea where that option exists.
Yeah, I think DJ Humphries is probably the safest move. You now have an idea of who he is and what he is. You have all the medicals on him now and have a feel for how he moves. You see him in practice. I mean, we know you didn't love it, so you're banking on him getting a lot healthier, which, that second year back, which would happen sometime in season for him next year, is generally a place where, a guy gets a lot healthier. So, I mean, I think there's reason to believe that there's more there in DJ Humphries. The question is there somebody who, the tackle market's the same for everybody else. And, as Chiefs fans look at it, it's all these names, not DJ Humphries. He's the fallback, right? For everybody else, DJ Humphries fits into that list somewhere.
Yeah.
Where does he fit? Is it second after Ronnie Stanley? Is it third after Allure Jackson? Like, where is, so there will be a market for him as well. It may be very low, and it may be a cost-effective one-year prove-it deal that the Chiefs are able to sign him for, and it's the perfect fit. There might be somebody who's willing to say, nah, that's the best we can do. And so if he's not there, oof.
That's the nightmare scenario for Brett Veach. Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the reason why I go back to Trey Smith. I was surprised by that, because I think you need resources just for the fail-safe decision at left tackle.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make too, is that this is where you start twisting yourself up in knots trying to make money available for guys to move quickly. Free agency moves quickly, and even guys who aren't that great get grabbed up fast because, there's 32 teams out there who need to fill holes, and these guys have egos. And so if you're sitting around saying, well, you know what, I'll wait and see what the Chiefs do for me, and it's only a one-year deal, prove-it deal, then if someone comes along and says, we'll give you 2 or 3, and you're 31 years old, right? DJ Humphries is well over 30 now. You're going to jump at what you can get. And so it's great to feel good about Trey Smith and Travis Kelce and having them back, but it's going to limit your ability to do other things that you have to do.
Speaking of limiting other things, Nick Bolton, Sam, is this officially spell the end of Nick Bolton returning to the Chiefs?
Well, I guess I shouldn't speak with certainty, because I thought that Creed Humphreys deal would spell the end for Trey Smith. And look, I mean, I mentioned the fact that the salary cap was higher, but still, Jeff said it earlier. I mean, there's how many non-premium positions can you pay big money on one roster? You've already got Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith at non-premium positions. And it's also statistically true that the easiest positions to get production in free agency are safety and linebacker. And those are the two biggest players that the Chiefs have left, are Justin Reid at safety and Nick Bolton at linebacker. Did the Chiefs even get worse, that much worse, when Drew Tranquill filled in for Nick Bolton at linebacker in 2023? They were okay.
We had one suggestion that said, let Bolton walk, re-sign Willie Gay, who's a free agent again after a one-year deal down in New Orleans. And you've got the linebacking crew that played half the year, in 2023 back together that ended up being number 2 in the NFL.
Yeah.
As a defense, overall number 2 in the NFL. So, I do think it looks like it's probably going to be the end for Nick Bolton. But I'm with you. Like, I didn't see the money being spent here at guard. So who knows what's coming. Hollywood Brown. Jeff, I'll let you go before his agent, Sam, chimes in.
Sam's sitting up there trying to put his PowerPoint together. Trying to sell the strength.
Veach wants to bring him back. Listen, I fall in between you two guys. I'm not quite as high as Sam, but I'm certainly higher than Jeff is on Hollywood Brown. But maybe the question is, like, what does the number look like to bring Hollywood Brown, and what do you think you're getting this go round after yet another injury-plagued season.
Well, I would say, look, it's not obviously not more than a 1-year deal, and it's not going to be whatever it was, $10 million like it was last year. It's probably talking about
7, yeah.
Was incentives that what it was?
7 plus incentives that weren't reached, yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't give him that. And so with Hollywood Brown, for me, there's two things that go on here. One is, can he stay healthy? Can he be productive? But two, does he want to be the fourth option on this offense? Because that doesn't make sense if you're playing on a 1-year prove-it deal to walk into an offense where Rashee Rice is going to be back on the field. Xavier Worthy has proven he surpassed you. Remember, they signed him. They had not drafted Xavier Worthy at this point last year. And so Xavier Worthy has already taken that spot that people thought Hollywood Brown would take over. And with Travis being back, I just don't know how that's prudent for him to continue to build a career in this league if you're going to catch about 30 passes. So to me, it seems like a harder sell, and I don't like the guy anyway, so I don't think he's worth bringing back.
RJ says Hollywood proved nothing. He'll come cheap, or should at least. Then Tommy says Hollywood Brown, no thanks unless he will take a 1-year, $3 to $4 million plus incentives. And Ben continues the love fest for Jeff. Right. It's a great point for Jeff. It's although there's a little bit of negativity here. Mahomie says, I don't care what Jeff and Soren say. They couldn't cut Kelce.
I didn't say they could cut him. Yeah. They should trade him.
Yeah. I said they could cut him. They can't cut him. I want to be clear.
Yeah,
They can't kind of mindset is what leads you to making bad decisions. I'm fine if they keep him, and I'm even fine if they keep him on this contract. I just think it has to be discussed. The discussion we're having here is the discussion that better be had at Arrowhead about what it means to do it. And to your point, one of the things I think it means is no Hollywood Brown, right? Like, I think Hollywood Brown would be the fallback. Okay, if Travis Kelce goes, we want a guy who knows the system, can hit the ground running. Hopefully he stays healthy this time. But I think it gets a lot harder to give, Tommy's right, 1 year, $3 million plus incentives that will be unlikely to be earned. So that does keep his cap number lower because he did nothing last year. So virtually any kind of incentives you can put in front of him are going to be listed as unlikely to be earned, and so won't count against this year's cap. So that is one way they can get creative and say it's 3 plus, per game, 125,000 or 250, whatever you want to do. It could take him back to $6-7 million in that, because they'll all be unlikely to be earned and hit next year's cap. But at some point somebody's got to freaking go. Like, you don't get it. And frankly, on the offensive side, you shouldn't bring the whole band back together because the offense wasn't good enough. Am I wrong, Sam?
Well, I think they will make a strong push for Hollywood Brown, but I don't think he's going to be like a super cheap wide receiver unless he just elects that he liked, what Kansas City could offer and felt like, it's sort of this quote unquote unfinished business mindset that he has, but he'll get some offers. I mean, I saw Bill Barnwell for ESPN had him in like the $10 to $15 million range, getting multiple years. He had him in sort of a group of guys that he thought could do that. Like, you can't afford that if that becomes the case. But
had him getting how much?
Your best. He had him among a group of wide receivers that I can't remember the terminology he used for that group of wide receivers, but they were guys that were in the $10 to $15 million range. Like, people need to remember what the wide receiver market is. And if you can get Hollywood Brown back on $4 million in incentives, like, my God, you run, to the window and take it. Like, that is a great deal if you can get Hollywood Brown on that deal. And I agree with Jeff that he's got to be comfortable being the third or fourth option. I say third or fourth because I think, first of all, you're going to have Rashee Rice missing games, whether it's 2, whether it's 4, whether it's 6. You're going to, potentially have a battle with Travis Kelce on some days for who does get more targets. But I also think that Kelce could play the first half of the season last year. Teams bracketed him. They were still doubling him because the Chiefs did not have Rashee Rice after 3 games. Xavier Worthy was unproven, and they didn't have Hollywood Brown. And so I do think Travis Kelce could look a little bit different with these other 3 guys if they get Brown back. But I just think this assumption that you're going to get him back cheap because there's going to be no market for him is wrong. Like, wide receivers get paid. People pay wide receivers, and he'll have some other offers. Whether or not he's intrigued by him, I don't know, but he'll have some other offers.
What do you think the offer will be for him?
The Chiefs or other teams?
Other teams. What do you got to beat?
I think he'll get a 2-year offer from somebody, and I think
he couldn't get it last year, and he missed almost the entire season this year. Why? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious who's that desperate, and what's the logic that says we didn't want him last year for more than 1 for 7? Why are you like, oh, now I'm in?
Well, the receiver market's not as strong as it was last year, right?
The receiver market's terrible.
Yeah.
Like there's just nobody available.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's the best reason.
Cooper Kupp's probably going to get a lot of money.
I think a lot of teams have been burnt by a lot of these big contracts. The Jaguars splashed a lot of money around on. Well, but I don't think Hollywood Brown. So why would you follow it down? Like I get it.
I wouldn't give Hollywood Brown 2 years.
Yeah. No, and so you're okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're not lobbying for it. You're saying it's going to happen.
I think you're saying a team with like a losing team with a lot of cap space could take him on and not feel that pain of having him be a part of the equation.
And not saying they should, but I'm not saying they should. I just think that will happen. I think he'll have a 2-year deal. He'll have to determine whether or not he wants to play for a team that he feels like he has unfinished business for, or whether or not he wants the money. And I think it's going to factor in the fact that he did not make a lot of money last year.
Got a lot of
see Juju Smith-Schuster, right?
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster got 3 years for $39 million. Exactly. Like this happens with wide receivers. It didn't, but these teams don't learn. These teams don't learn.
I can't stress the baseball mentality. I think it's the right thing with the wide receivers. The truly elite, pay them whatever it takes to get them. But the guys down below it, stop screwing around. They're all kind of the same. They're all kind of Jags. Juju is a Jag that benefited from a system. Like the truly elite, like Jamar Chase, you pay, right? There are a handful of guys that you pay. But there are all these other guys that are getting 80% of that, 60% of that. They don't end up being worth it. Like, we'll see where it goes. Listen, if you need help with your insurance, David Starnes Allstate Insurance has you covered. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations: North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, let's talk about the grades. The NFLPA brought out their grades for the Kansas City Chiefs. They improved, Sam, right? They got a little bit better. What do we think? Overall ranking 26th.
Yeah, I mean,
improved.
My actual main takeaway from these grades, because for full disclosure, I went to the NFLPA meeting at the Combine where they released all these, and my main takeaway is that this has been a pretty brilliant thing for the NFLPA because they went over the grades year by year. There's like a 50% drop in the amount of D grades. There's like a 30% increase in the amount of A grades in this. Like their strategy here, and they will claim it's not to embarrass owners. It's just they've embarrassed owners and it's worked. We've seen what Clark Hunt has done is he's invested in the things that I think are probably theoretically the cheapest, but they improve grades. I mean, the things that they improved on is they hired a full-time dietitian, Nikki Mintz from the Jets last year. So, their nutrition grade goes from, I can't remember, it was a D or F last year to an A-. They have game day daycare for players, and look, other teams actually charge money for that. I mean, it's revealing behind the scenes. The Chiefs, even though they don't improve the rankings wise, the curve has changed to where a lot of these teams have significantly better grades than they used to. Which, like I said, I mean, what the NFLPA is doing is working. I think a lot of these owners thought, well, if another team's not doing it, we don't have to do it. And what the NFLPA survey said is we can embarrass you all. It doesn't have to be just one of you. We can embarrass all of you. And they did it over the last couple of years. And the grades of all these teams have changed a lot in the last 3 years.
Jeff, what's your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is window dressing. I think sometimes the NFLPA spends too much time worrying about this kind of stuff and not fighting for bigger prizes. But I do think it's been successful. And when you do go around the NFL, you do see a difference in how organizations treat, players, that the resources they give them, the amenities, and that stuff. Even though we like to think here in Kansas City that it's all about, hey, who wants to play for a championship team or a winning team? Like these teams that don't win a whole lot, like they get people to come play for them because they have this kind of stuff going on. And when you're talking about the difference between a 1 or 2 year deal or a 2 or 3 year deal and what your family's going to get or what the food is like, there's a big difference between being in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I think they got an A versus being someplace like New Orleans. That's not as
Always use Cincinnati as the example.
Yeah, Cincinnati, where it's like, I mean, it's noticeable for someone on the outside. I remember going to Tampa Bay back when they were winning championships and they were operating out of trailers for their facility, right in a shopping mall, adjacent to a shopping mall. And so, it does matter, even though the fans don't get into the weeds part of it, but it does. I'm glad to see the Chiefs have improved some of these areas.
I'm with you, Jeff, that the NFLPA, one, healthcare and different things like that are things, but their members aren't really good at coming together and fighting for the things that are big picture and long term. But I do think there is something to be said, like, listen, can you afford, if you play in the NFL, can you afford daycare? Yeah. But how much, if you're at your job and your job offered you free daycare, how thrilled would you be? How much happier would you be? I mean, I think there are things that you can do that are minimal cost. Like, how much is it really out of the Hunt family coffers to pay for daycare? Like, there are things like, you're right, it's not the biggest thing to go fight for out of the Players Association, but it's also not the biggest thing for an owner to do.
Yeah.
But it can increase the culture, the environment, like, I know the little things like, that get done at my office. You're like, okay, yeah, I matter. I matter. I don't care how much money you make. It's always nice for somebody to still go ahead and again tell you matter.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, when I talked to JC Treader about, the daycare thing is game day. And as a father of a 3 and 4 year old, it'd be tough if I had Sunday, if I worked on Sunday, right? And you're trying to find game day daycare on Sunday or something like that. So that's a minimal investment. But I will say the other, the thing that the Chiefs really got dinged for, a couple things. One is they still complain about the space in the weight room and the space in the locker room. The locker room's not changing because they're trying to get a new facility, right? And they're trying to get, some sort of entity to help them pay for that or pay for the majority of it. And the other thing was the hotel grade. And I would not be surprised if the Chiefs are staying in a different hotel the night before home games next year, in which case it works. That's my point. This survey has an effect on the things that the players care about.
Yeah, they make it public. So you're the bitch that stays in house and nobody ever sees goes public. And oh God, we look bad for this. Okay, nobody wants to look cheap. They want to be cheap. They want to look cheap.
Yeah,
right. That's listen. We're always brought to you by our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. He and his staff are absolutely fantastic. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, been serving Kansas City for more than 30 years. One contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Northland Injury Law. If you've been hurt in an accident, don't wait. Call Northland Injury Law at 816-400-HURT. Tell them the Red, Gold, and Bold sent you, 816-400-HURT, or text HURT, H-U-R-T, 22-222. And, of course, our friends at Besame Wellness. Use promo code podcast25, and you can save 25% on your entire order. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red